Hello, everyone. This is Joe Boston with Real Estate for Life. I hope all is well with you. Today, we're going to talk about material costs, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of uh, the major and the minor costs that are associated with it. Now, when we're at the club, we take a deep dive on the specific materials that you could encounter. But right now, I just want to give you a high level overview of what you can expect if you're going to do a rehab for your rental property, or if you're going to do a full rehab and renovation on a property that you've acquired for investment purposes. So, like you to register at dallasreig.com, and you will find resources as well as a membership where we'll have videos and you'll be able to participate with us on certain events that we have online if you're not local. And then you'll be able to attend our meetings at our headquarters in Arlington at 7170 East Border Street if you have the opportunity to attend. So it all boils down to what you know, and what you know can be good and bad, right? The market's always changing along with uh, prices for materials, access to labor. And if you're not doing a lot of volume, what can happen is that you lose some of your contractors, or the prices fluctuate and go up. And then you set a budget based on prior markets and you just didn't keep your pricing matrix up to date or accurate. So I would say if you're not doing it all the time, then you want to attend a group like ours or stay close to a partner that might be doing it often so that you can have an accurate budget. But just to highlight, we have actually a fix and flip program, and we work with different companies and crews to make sure that we are always staying current on our pricing and getting the best contractors we can that are in the market. One of the things I want to highlight here is you want to develop your own pricing matrix, because when people do uh, rehabs, they have their own style. And that means if you have your own style for materials, you're going to be buying either lower end, mid grade, or higher end products, based on your preference. So, we can give you a bottom line number or a top line number, but you have to develop a pricing matrix that fits your style. Also, I would highly recommend developing your own relationships with subcontractors. That will, in turn, over the long term, give you better pricing typically, and then also develop a good relationship when you have a need for them in an emergency. So, also, even though you'll have a relationship with the subcontractors, I recommend putting everything out for bid. One is it keeps you apprised of what the market will bear. And then, secondly, it allows you to develop more relationships. It is an additional task, because we hold open houses just like you would to sell a house, but for our contractors. And then always ask for warranty information. Uh, when you're putting things out for bid, or pictures and experience. Some are trying, some contractors are starting their own business as well. And so you have to be wary of that. And, I always say test first and then see what type of quality they actually do on the job. And then if it's good quality to your liking, you can move forward. Also, always get their driver's licenses and license plate to verify who they are. If, in addition to that, have a contract. We always use contracts, and for our members, we actually will assist with that. But always use a contract, because if it's verbal, those terms can change. But if it's in writing up front, those don't, and your expectations are in writing. I also recommend purchasing your own materials. That's very important. One is it prevents from a markup, And then two, you get the benefit of leveraging relationships with the vendors and the manufacturers. So I recommend doing that. And then if you can, get as many accounts set up in your business name. Again, if you're trying to build credit for your company, this also allows you to do that because you'll be buying materials utilizing your EIN and company name, and so you'll build up that credit when you're using them regularly. And then make sure that you're verifying, uh, you know, definitely all the time through the process. Walk the property in the beginning, walk it during the middle, and walk it at the end. You want to make sure that you're staying, apprised of what's going on. Remember, there's two things we do for the most part. It's money and management, and you don't want to slide on the management. So that's really important. So we do have masterminds that we host at our group. They're open to members, the core membership, and then we have a leadership team, and we go through different topics. One thing that we're trying to develop is experience, and then look for crews that have experience. Work with different vendors that we allow, that we leverage, so people can actually give us recommendations on vendors, or we can do the same. And that's to develop a knowledge base so that when you do need to utilize that particular trade or manufacturer or representative, you'll have that at your fingertips. And then it's to do projects, right? So you get good at doing projects. And the one thing that I always say is we talk about it a lot, but if you're not doing projects, it's hard for you to get the experience because every project is different. And so you want to make sure that you're doing projects to keep yourself sharp, but also to make money, right? And to get better at your craft. So you want to make sure you're either doing a project or a part of a project so that you are getting the experience that you need. So let's talk about the major rehab and repair costs. So what those are, I have 5 that are identified. It's your roofing, your HVAC, your foundation, your electrical, and your plumbing. These items should be identified and focused on immediately, right when you walk on the property, if you are evaluating a potential deal. So you want to make sure that these are at a high level looked at from yourself or someone that's qualified to walk this with you. And you want to make sure that you are going through this with a fine tooth comb. What we always say is it's the punch that knocks you that you can't see that knocks you out. Well, same thing holds true here. I mean, with plumbing and electrical, you can't really see it, which then it can tie into your HVAC, which can actually fry your HVAC system. And then your foundation is underneath you, so you can't see that as well. So, and then if you don't walk the roof, you can't see that as well. So a lot of things you're not really able to see with the naked eye. So these are items though that can be the most costly. So I want you to pay attention to these items. Next, we have the minor rehab repair costs. I call these the secondary. These are your flooring, windows, paint, landscaping, trim, and baseboards. One of the things I will say, believe it or not, one of the hardest things to do is your finish out. Okay. That's the most tedious, but that's going to make your property look the best. Of course, I don't have all the costs on here, but at a high level, this is what I wanted to share with you. In addition to that, when you're talking about some of these items like your flooring and paint, and if you're doing this regularly, you try to use the same type or system. One thing you can do is you can buy it in bulk. And then in addition to that, you try to standardize your process. For example, with windows, you should go to your local hardware store, Home Depot, Lowe's, see what they have in stock that's standard, and then try to modify your property to what products are standard. Then you won't have a problem with lead times because lead times can become a real issue when you're talking about speed and efficiency. Okay, so roofing at a high level, just really quickly, we actually price roofing by the square. It takes 3 bundles per square, and you can find a lot of this information online, but a lot of people don't really know what goes into a roof. So you will require obviously shingles, felt, pipe jacks, ridge, and then all the materials to put those together, the nails, and then it sits on decking, flashing, soffit repair, and labor. These prices do fluctuate, but all of these items are needed to complete your roof. And, it's not just the shingles. And so when you're pricing a roof, these need to be taken into consideration. And also, when you're evaluating the condition of your roof, you need to look at these items. So, for example, your turbines, that's what creates airflow in your attic. And, you need to have proper ventilation in your attic. And if those are not working properly, that could severely hamper your ventilation. So you want to make sure that when you're looking at a roof, that these are the items that you're actually uh, paying attention to. If you don't know this, then get a qualified contractor that or can walk this with you. Okay, but all these costs are included in looking at a roof. So your HVAC system, what that is comprised of is your air handler, and then there's different sizes, and those are they're measured by tons. And typically, what I've heard is it's about 400 square feet per ton. And that varies, but depending on the what your layout of your house. But we use that as a rough guide. Then you're going to need duct, a condenser, additional venting or drops. Those are actually your vents. And then Freon. The older systems use what's called R22. This is the coolant. But now the systems that are more efficient use R410A. And the R22, because it is not as efficient and it's pretty much been removed mostly from the market, is higher in price because it's just the availability is not there. And but a lot of the older houses will have R22, and more than likely your HVAC uh, rep or company is going to recommend that you replace it. So don't be alarmed if they do if it starts to run rough. So next is our foundation. The foundation, if it's needs repair or to be lifted, there's a per pier price that we look at. That's typically anywhere. It's a range anywhere from $265 for the outside, and then $285 for the inside. Obviously, you have to go through concrete in the inside; it's more expensive. And then you have to estimate per pier if it's a pier and beam, because there's more labor for trenching and lifting, and it's a different process than if it's just a concrete slab. If it's a pier and beam, so we do have an estimate from $10,000 to $15,000 because that includes trenching, your labor, and beams if they need to be replaced. Then there's a engineering report that an engineer will need to go out. Foundation engineer will need to go out and determine if it's safe, level, and if they approve it, and so it's ready to sell. And that costs about $600. Floor floating. If you're not going to do your complete foundation, sometimes you just do partial, but your floors might not be level. They will use material to actually coat your floor to make it level. It's about $25 a square foot. And then your estimates for the most part are free. So, like I said in the previous slides, get at least 3 bids so that you can see what you're paying. Next is electrical. And your electrical, there can be multiple things that it's comprising of. It's your panel, which is typically either in your garage or utility room. Those range from $1,600 from outside to $2,300 inside for 100 amp service. So just check like I said, your local hardware store. But if you do have an electrician, they can go to an electrical supply house and you might get a better deal. Your wiring, your outlets, switches, GFCI, smoke detectors, and lighting. All those will vary in cost that you can see here, but typically your wirings per square foot and then the rest are by the number of actual pieces that you'll need to acquire. Just like with your lighting, you have your ceiling fans, chandeliers, hallway lights, and so forth. But from your electrical, you need to make sure um, that if it's aluminum or copper, you need to make sure per what it's per code, and then the pricing may vary, determining based on what your area specific city calls for. As far as plumbing, uh, of course you'll need a water heater. Some people are electing to transition to tankless, which I have done in a lot of my houses. But just for a general overview, you have electric and gas. The electric is a little bit more, water heater is a little bit more than the gas water heater. And then you have electric and gas for your tankless. Same thing holds true there. And then you have your replumbing of a sewer, water lines, clean outs, gas lines. So actually, your plumber handles all your gas lines. If you did not know that, toilets. So we have pricing for that. But again, there's per piece. I mean, meaning there's the product and then there's labor. So we tried to lay that out for you. And as our members know, we actually have pricing guides that they can actually use and that we've developed over time in our particular market. In addition to that, you're going to need your sinks for your bathrooms and kitchens and your disposals, and then your bathtub. So, a lot of what you'll see and what they talk about is your wet areas are actually your money, uh, what makes you the most money. So, your kitchen and your bathroom is making your most money. So, you want to pay specific attention to those areas, your wet room. So, you want to make sure you're pricing all of these adequately. They could get very expensive. I will say make sure you go online if you can and plan ahead of time so that it'll save you costs. If you're waiting to the last minute, you're going to pay high retail value for it. In addition, you'll have your outside faucets. Labor will vary depending on where it's located, and then your repairs. And sometimes you'll be required to use a camera or just have a clean out done or a snake. So here are some of the prices that you can expect. Like for a sewer and a snake, if it's really bad, it's $150 minimum just for them to go out and assess it. And then it's an hourly rate. But you can see here that if you have a break, what we experience here in Texas because of the soil movement, they might need to run a camera to see and evaluate what needs to be done. And, usually that's hourly and they might charge you for the camera fee. So this is a brief overview that I wanted to give you for uh, material costs. And again, this is just an introductory look at what you could expect. We want you to tune into us because we take deep dives into what you really need to know when you're doing these rehabs and you're trying to budget for them. So we will continue with topics like this to try to help you evaluate one, if you want to take on the project, and then two, how to actually proceed through the project. And so we want you to definitely tune into us at Real Estate for Life. And so thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time with a great topic.